This video is brought to you by my two books, Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist and The Blues Guitar Bible. Want to learn about modes, harmony, scales, chord substitution and keys? Or maybe you're interested in supercharging your blues guitar rhythm and lead chops. Whatever you're interested in, I guarantee you will be hitting the fast lane to progress with either of these works. Both feature video demonstrations and tutorials, loads of tabs and jam tracks to play along with, and I promise you, everything is explained in crystal clear plain English. Check out the links in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Being Tuesday, you know what the drill is. We're doing a top 5 list, and you've already seen the thumbnail and the video title, so I won't waste too long with the preamble. It's all about album closers today. The final track on an album, the song, the tune, the piece of music which is still ringing in your ears as you reflect on the album that you've just listened to. I confess I am one of those people that still, whichever way I consume music, which these days tends to be via the streaming medium, I don't really go in for playlists that much. Occasionally, maybe, if you've got friends around and you just want some background music or something like that. But if I'm sitting down to listen to music, headphones on, and just kind of paying attention to what I'm listening to, then I like to listen to an album front to back, start to finish. That's what I like to do. And it's that final track, that track that's, as I say, still ringing in your ears while you are just kind of thinking about what you've just listened to. Maybe it's an album that you've listened to many times. Maybe it's the first time you've heard it, and that final track has the, it leaves the lasting impression, I think, of what you've been enjoying or not, as the case may be. So the final track on an album is, I think, along with the opening track, the sort of bookends of the album, can be one of the most important pieces of music on an album. And I thought I'd put this little list together of my favourite. These are just my choices, okay? My favourite album closers, the ones that always make me sometimes, if I have the time, go back and listen to the album again, front to back, once more. So let's get started with
Brain Damage, Eclipse.
I mean, Dark Side of the Moon is a masterpiece of an album, whichever way you slice it up. But you get the feeling with some artists that, you know, it's the tracks could have been on an album, could have been in any order. You know, it doesn't matter. But on Dark Side of the Moon, it absolutely does. And these two final closing tracks, I've lumped them both together because they do segue from one to another. These two tracks, Brain Damage going into Eclipse, for me, I just even kind of imagining hearing it in my head now, I'm starting to get like goosebumps a little bit. It's absolutely electrifying. It's just, it leaves you with that feeling that you have after you've watched a fantastic movie, if you prefer, or, you know, you've got to the last page of a great book that you've really enjoyed, or you've just finished a delicious meal. You know, there's that feeling of satisfaction that is hard to put into words, even though I'm trying to here. It's just a brilliant album closer. And if I had to pick one from this list to be probably the best, although these lists aren't really, kind of about ranking things, I think this one would probably nudge it. Just absolutely fantastic. If you're unfamiliar with any of these tracks, and there might be one on this list that does have you scratching your head a bit, then don't worry, there are links in the description to all of these. So let's see which one's next.
Roisin Dubh, a rock legend.
Yes, the title track from Thin Lizzy's Black Rose album. Roisin Dubh is, of course, the Gaelic way of saying Black Rose. The link that I put down in the description is not the Thin Lizzy version, by the way. Well, it sort of is. It's a video I've mentioned on the channel many times. It's the Gary Moore, Scott Gorham version of it from the Phil Lynott, whichever way it is, tribute concert that was in Dublin in 2005, nearly 20 years ago. Well, it is 20 years ago this year, as you're watching this. Anyway, so yeah, just an epic sort of Celtic folk rock kind of thing going on there. Maybe not folk rock. There are folk melodies in there. There's the Shenandoah is woven into it. The Mason's Apron, Danny Boy. It's just an epic tune. I remember hearing. It was actually a live version of this that I first heard on the very underrated second Thin Lizzy live album called Life, which was from the sort of John Sykes era of the band, the final incarnation of Thin Lizzy. It's a great album, by the way. Go and check it out. There's a point in the I think they're doing a version of the Rocker on there where every guitarist I think who'd ever been in Thin Lizzy comes out, and basically Gary's there, John Sykes is there, Scott Gorham's there, Brian Robertson's there. They all come out and basically they take part in what was essentially the farewell tour, I think. Fantastic live album. And it was the version of Black Rose, or Roisin Dubh if you prefer, that on that album that I first heard. That made me go and get the studio album, and what a way to close an album. That is my favourite Thin Lizzy album by a country mile. Might be a controversial choice, but as I said at the top of the video, these are my opinions. I just love that whole album, and that is the perfect closer for it. Next.
Do you feel like we do?
Yeah, speaking of live albums, Peter Frampton, Frampton Comes Alive. I'm never tired of hearing that album. Peter's playing is just flashy enough to make you think, oh yeah, and melodic enough to kind of have you thinking, basically humming the guitar solos after you've listened to the album. And just the final track on this, Do You Feel Like We Do, just solo after solo after solo, and it's just, I find myself getting a bit of a sweat on thinking, like, where is he? How come he's not running out of ideas? It just the music just seems to flow out of him, and the energy and electricity of the live performance is really, really captured. I don't know if the gigs that Frampton recorded for this album were ever filmed at all. Okay, but I can say confidently that I've never seen any footage of that of the Frampton Comes Alive concert, but I've watched it a million times up here. Do you know what I'm saying? You get that real sort of sense that you're there, and this is just, he's absolutely on fire on this track. The whole band are as tight as a tight thing on a tight day. Absolutely fantastic, brilliant closing track from a brilliant album. Next,
Bangoon, also known as Alison's uncle.
This is the one that I think might be a bit of a curveball for many people. Cannonball Adderley, Julian Cannonball Adderley, great alto sax player. This album was recorded, the album's called Something Else, by the way. The album was recorded in 1958, and I might be wrong here. Correct me if you know better in the comments, but I think I read somewhere that this is the last album that Miles Davis played on as a session guy. It was recorded just before Miles did his Kind of Blue album, which if if you only own one jazz album, make sure it's that one. And Cannonball Adderley was in Miles's band, and there was sort of a kind of back and forth between the two bands, Miles's band and Cannonball Adderley's band. And I'm cheating a little bit with this one because the original release of this album, Something Else, didn't have this track Bangoon or Alison's Uncle on it. But the version I bought on CD in the 1990, whenever it was, did have this on. It was called Alison's Uncle originally because basically Nat Adderley, who was, I think, Cannonball's brother, had just had a baby daughter called Alison, and they didn't know what this undiscovered track that they'd forgotten about was going to be called. So kind of Cannonball Adderley being Alison's uncle. I'll just call it Alison's uncle, but it later transpired that there was a title for it. It was called Bangoon, but many people know it by one title or the other. I first encountered it under the heading Alison's uncle, so that's how I still think of it. Fantastic up-tempo, cool jazz with melody, with riffs, with some great drum solos by Art Blakey, and just Hank Jones's piano playing on this again, kind of soloing in it. It's one of those recordings where you can kind of, I think in a couple of places you can hear the squeak of the bass drum pedal, which just makes it all the more real. It's just, I really, really love that whole album. If you're not into jazz, you're going to wonder what the hell I'm talking about. It's like you might skip past that one. But as I say, the links are all in the description, so go and check it out and let me know what you think. It's certainly one of my favourite album closers, which is why it had to be on this list. Next,
Riviera Paradise.
Very poignant, this one. Stevie's final studio album during his lifetime, In Step, came out not long before he sadly left us. And the final track on this album was, he'd got himself clean, he'd beaten his addictions, and, this was like, if you're not familiar with it, again, there's a live version that I've linked to down in the description. It's just him sort of in a reflective, kind of bittersweet mood, shall we say. If you're familiar with, it was always on Stevie's albums, the final track would always be a little bit different. I'm thinking of maybe Stang Swang off Couldn't Stand the Weather, or Lenny off Texas Flood. Life Without You, that was off Soul to Soul, wasn't it? The final track on the album was just something where he was going somewhere a little bit different to the rest of the material on the album, and Riviera Paradise kind of fits that mould. It's very much in the vein of Lenny, but like an extended, very much more sophisticated version of it. It ebbs and flows. There are peaks and troughs. It roars and it whispers, and it's just Stevie at his most lyrical, I think. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of music, and it's sort of his epitaph in many ways. Not long after this album was released, he was gone, and this is what he left us with. And I think it's a very touching piece of music, and there was no way that it could not be on this list. So there you go, folks. Those are my 5 favourite album closers this week. Ask me again, at another date, and these things are always subject to change, but not too much, I don't think. I can't see myself ever taking Brain Damage and Eclipse off this list, or Riviera Paradise, or any of them at the moment, to be honest with you. But I think this is pretty much the definitive for me list of album closers. As always, let me know what your choices would be down in the comments. If some of these tracks are new to you and you go and click on the links and check them out, I'd be interested to know what you think of my choices. Maybe you think I'm a blithering idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about. It has been said once or twice in the past. Or maybe you agree wholeheartedly. Either way, I'm interested to hear from you. But that is the video for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. UK time. We drink beer and talk about stuff, basically. Doesn't need to get any more complicated than that, does it? It's a great way to kick off the weekend. As I say, 5 p.m. UK time every Friday. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And drop me a like as well while you're at it. And as I say, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.